build something that's unique. Thanks for joining today. My name is John Struer, Customer Success Manager here at Luminoso. I'm joined by Wood Harder, Senior Solutions Architect. Today we'll be talking to you about how to get Luminoso built into your systems, integrating into your tech stack, what's the process, how to get started. First piece is going to be why people are integrating into Luminoso, reducing the time to insight. So just getting information into analysts' hands faster in order to be able to make decisions based on those insights. Second piece, so the democratization of data, having data readily accessible to all of your organizations. So it's not just people responsible for data. Anyone can get creative, be less siloed, have access to all data, and creating a single source of truth. So being able to upload multiple sources of data into one system and trying to track similar language across those data sources, looking at one data source and create insights off of that, being able to aggregate all of those data sources together and compare them across those boundaries. Once you've figured out how you do that and what works best for your team, creating automations is obviously the next step. Taking it a step further with some advanced modeling, predict retention, conversions, things like that. Finally, even at a baseline without doing anything with the data, adding dimensions just to your historical data for other people to use.
A lot of cases where you have large scale data, but you also see it in smaller places where you want to automate the data in and the data out. Basically use Python and run a script that automatically processes your data, feeding it back out to Tableau or a Power BI.
Considerations when tackling a project like this. Luminoso integration really is an advanced use of the tool. It takes a little bit of time to go through onboarding to understand what's working best for your team and what's working best for your analysis. Really iron out what you're going to be doing. It takes a lot of planning. It's really good for the recurring use cases, anything where you need to stay on top of feedback. The final piece, you are not limited to building a script that is going to take data and push it into Luminoso for you. Data in directly from a software vendor, your survey provider, or your CRM, directly from your data lake, which is common in most digital transformation organizations. A lot of people are putting data in their data lake so people are able to access it, usually sitting within your IT department. Finally, scraping from the web, product reviews, Reddit data, Reddit discussions, really anywhere that we can get a webhook, people are scraping data and pushing it to Luminoso. We can either write scripts that are running scheduled in your AWS, or you can write scripts that are ran on a monthly basis that just produce an output. It really depends on what your organization is comfortable with doing. But at the end of the day, it's how do we get data into Luminoso? Data out. Once Luminoso has built the model and looked at your data, you can either use your inputs or manually created input to then export out to other places. BI tools, data visualization platforms such as Tableau, and then custom solutions built for a purpose. Anything from recommending the most highly relevant FAQ articles to recommending the most highly relevant products, to expanding your search. We can help consult on that to build solutions that are not just OEM products, build something that's unique.
There's many different kinds of output from Luminoso API. Once you feed the documents in, we process them. There's all these different endpoints that you can use. The most common ones are documents, concepts, concept lists, score drivers, those things. And the raw data for documents is things like all the concepts within the document. And then we enhance it with a lot of Luminoso data, like what is the sentiment of a specific concept in the context of that document, as well as the vectors. Luminoso creates a large vector space where every concept is related to every other concept and document, and those are included in this document output so you can compare the documents to concepts or to other documents. On the concepts endpoint, we get things like exact match counts, term counting, the sentiment. If I have a list of concepts, what are the outliers? I might create a list and say, I think this is everything I'm interested in, but hey, what's out there that might be an emerging concept? And that's very, very simple within the Luminoso output. Now we're going to talk about how those are used in different ways. You can build other things to go and count the terms, although Luminoso does a lot with this conceptual matches within concepts that gives you a lot more fidelity in the data. Using dates as a filter to understand are concepts getting better or worse. Concepts linked to a specific group, a specific subset, a specific driver, a specific sentiment. Conceptual matches. When I'm given a concept, I can go and get the list of concepts that are related to it. In the API, I can get a list of in conjunction with. Given those frustrations, what are the things that aren't necessarily synonyms of that that are different and related? What are those things that are associated with that but aren't synonyms of that? Every concept has an association, so you can understand how related are two different concepts. Okay, the documents endpoint, we can compare groups of documents. What are the differences between those? And we tag documents. A contextual sentiment, I could build a view of the specific document and say, this concept in this context is positive. Over here, this one's negative, and it's used differently within the specific document. Search enhancement, we take a document and understand what are the concepts on it and what are misspellings or acronyms that are used and how are they related and how might somebody type something that's searching for this document differently than what is actually in the document itself. Sentiment analysis. So this is an endpoint. We get this out of the concept endpoint, but it's kind of its own within that. What is the sentiment in this specific document? And it can be different for if it's used twice, once positive, once negative, you'll see that difference. We do sentiment within the concept level in the document. Or aggregate, what does this concept look like in the entire project? And we can filter over sentiment. Score drivers, this endpoint gives you understanding of emerging issues, and then it's all tied to this filtering. So any of these endpoints, documents, concepts, sentiment, score drivers can also be filtered within your data.
Using Daylight as your text analytics engine. On the right, you'll see the flow where we'll show you how you get a data source into a web scraping service, uploaded, formatted, ignoring concepts, building lists, building shell views directly into Daylight, then out to a BI tool. Either way, it's Daylight being an engine, processing a bunch of data, you choosing what are best for you. Been in our history from day one for Luminoso. Think of different ways and different uses. So people are creating custom solutions. The things that came out of those conversations, came out of those relationships, were things like better FAQ recommendations, things like advanced modeling where you're predicting your conversion, increasing your search engine scope to make better recommendations when a customer is shopping, bias detection and outlier detection. I think the important thing to note is the API endpoints are wide open. We even give you our modeling, our vector space for you to use. The biggest piece is we really are open to creativity. I think the most important takeaway is we're always here to help, whether we're going to help you create it ourselves or if we're going to support you. So final piece, tips and tricks, consult with us. We'd love to learn more about what your problems are. We'd love to learn about what your experience has been in the past. It just helps us to get an open dialogue to see what people are doing. Second resource to always go to is your IT and engineering department. Usually they have procedures and steps you can follow and see a bunch of paperwork that you're going to need to do, but they'll be the ones that can help you get through that process because it is a long one. It does take some time and it allows you to get this off the ground and running. The last piece would be if you really kind of want to save yourself the headache, we are ready to kind of help build things for you with our new managed service program. But at the same time, we're also there to support you if you decide to take on that project yourself. So either way, our end goal is to give you an integration point that you're happy with, whether we build it for you or if we're going to be helping you and supporting you building during that process. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon on some good Luminoso webinars.
Great. Thank you.
Kim, I don't know how you left or ended the webinar so fast.